Hello, welcome to my channel. So today we are going to be making this very easy, very simple, can be cute hexagon beanie hat. So made in one piece, super simple, and without further ado, let's get started.
Alright, so we're going to jump right in. So the first thing I'm going to need are the supplies. Very simple, weight 4 yarn, acrylic. I used white, I used purple, and I used a little bit of this gray that I had left. Today my hook size I will be using is an I, and let's jump right in. So the first thing you want to do is make a magic circle. And you do this as best as you see fit. Okay, and then we're going to chain up 3. Alright, and then we're going to make 2 double crochets. Here's 1 and here's 2. Alright, and then you want to chain 2. And then we're going to make 3 more double crochets. And then we're going to chain 2 again. And we're going to repeat this. Okay, so 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. This is the exact way you start a hexagon cardigan, for example. You will do this a total of 6 times. You will have 6 clusters in total. Alright, and don't forget that chain 2 at the end. And then we're going to slip stitch to the 3rd chain of that chain 3. Okay, so I'm not changing colors this round. We are going to pull that magic ring tight, close up that circle, and that's the end of round 1. Alright, we're going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches all the way until the open chain space and slip stitch into that one as well. And then we're going to chain up 3. And I like to make that chain, the first 2 chains real tiny, so I pull it a little tight. And then I'm going to make 2 more double crochets. Chain 2. And then make 3 double crochets all into the same chain space. Okay, I'm going to chain 1 and then repeat the exact same thing. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets all into the same chain space. You will do this a total of 6 times. Once we reach the end, we will slip stitch into that 3rd chain of the top of that chain 3 and slip stitch into the next double crochet. We will stop here, and this is the end of round 2. So you will put the yarn back on your hook, and then you will go into the next double crochet, but changing colors this time, and slip stitch through and slip stitch into the open chain space. I'm going to cut my yarn and continue working the pattern, working over my tails. Okay, and this is how I simply just change my color. You do as best as you see fit. So from here, I'm going to chain up 3. Do 2 double crochets. Chain 2. And do 3 more double crochets, all in the same space. All right, I'm going to chain 1. And in the next chain space, I will make 3 double crochets. Chain 1. And in the next chain space, it's going to be a corner. So I'm going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. In every fan space, in every corner space, you will make 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. In every single chain space, you will make 3 double crochets, not forgetting the chain 1 in between the spaces. And you will repeat that all the way around until you get to the end. Once you reach the end, you will slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. You also slip stitch into the next double crochet. And here I will be changing colors. I'm going to do the same thing as I did last time. I'm going to insert my hook into the next double crochet, grab my new color, and pull it through, completing that slip stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the chain space, cut my yarn, and crochet over my tails, continuing the same pattern. So I'm going to chain 3, do 2 more double crochets, chain 2, do 3 more double crochets, chain 1, and in the next chain space, I'm going to work 3 double crochets, chain 1. In the next chain space, I'm going to work 3 more double crochets, chain 1, and finally I will come to a corner where I will make 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets. And you will keep repeating that all the way until the end. So you will grow 1 chain space. So you will place 3 double crochets into that chain space every round. So the larger the hexagon get, the more chain spaces and clusters you will add. So the first round was all corners, the second round you had 1, the third round you had 2, the fourth round you'll have 3, and you will continue repeating until you reach your desired size. So for me, it ended up being a total of 10 rounds. And if you fold it, it kind of looks like a hexagon cardigan. So I really like the colors, very simple, but this is how you fold it for the hat. So you're gonna fold it like this. And then you wanna take your measurement. You wanna go from here to here and make sure it measures about 1 inch less than half of your head size. So if your head size is 20 inches, you want to make sure that it measures 10. And roughly in the middle, it should measure about 5 inches or so. And next we're going to add the border. This will increase your length of the hexagon beanie, and you will do as many rounds as you need to increase to the size that you may want. So if you need 7 inches to cover your head, if you need 6 inches to cover your head, or if you're fine with the 5 inches that covers the head, then you do as best as you see fit. But you want to make sure that it's long enough to cover over your forehead or to the length that you may want it. So we are simply going to attach our yarn, and you do this as best as you see fit. So I attach my yarn, chain 1, chain 2 while pulling tight, and chain 3. So since I did a chain 2 in my corner spaces, I'm going to do 2 double crochets here. Okay, and then I'm going to place 1 double crochet into each double crochet, and I'm going to place 1 double crochet around the chain space. So very simple. You're just making sure that you have the same amount of double crochets as you have clusters and chain spaces. And we're going to do that all the way until we reach the end of this side. Okay, and after you made your last 2 double crochets in the corner space, we are looking like this. This is how it's looking so far. So you're going to yarn over and place 2 double crochet into the next corner on the next side, and continue the exact same thing that you just did on this side. Every corner space will get 2 double crochets, and every chain 1 space will get 1 double crochet, and every double crochet will get a double crochet. So I will meet you when we are at the end. Okay, once we have placed our last 2 double crochets in the corner space, we will slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. Okay, I'm gonna pull up a loop, and for this next part, I'm gonna go ahead and seam the sides together. Okay, I think I want to make sure I closed up the gaps before I went any further in the brim. So simply, I'm gonna seam the sides before I finish my brim. Here we go. So I am going to go into the chain 1 right before my cluster, under the 2 double crochet that I just placed for my brim. Okay, so I went into the chain 1 space, and as you see, I'm using a different color. Okay, I'm gonna go through both of the first double crochets, I'm gonna go through both of the second double crochets, and I'm gonna go through both of the third double crochets. I'm also gonna work my way under the chain 1 spaces, under both loops on both sides. Okay, and pull tight. And I'm going to do this for the entire length up until the top of the beanie. 1 double crochet to 1 double crochet under both loops, 1 chain 1 space to 1 chain 1 space. Nothing hard, everything simple. Very easy, very simple. It should all match up and line up. And you want to keep going until you reach the top. Here's what it's looking like with a different color of yarn. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this part, but it should still match up. You should still have one double crochet on one side that matches the other side. I went through the first and the second double crochet of the last cluster. I also went through the third double crochet of the last cluster. And I left the chain 2 space unworked. So the chain 2 space is just there. Nothing is not closed. And you'll see why once we finish out this beanie. So you want to do the same thing to both sides. It's cinched up pretty nicely. Yeah, so now I'm going to finish the brim. Sorry about that. That just looks so funny. Okay, so back to seriousness. So we want to finish this brim out. The very first thing I'm going to do is reattach or go into my loop that I had. So I am going to start this row with a chain 1. And then I'm going to do a stacked single crochet into that very first stitch. Then I'm going to make a back post double crochet. Okay? Into the next stitch, I'm going to do a front post double crochet. And if you don't know what back post and front post is, you may want to look up a tutorial about it, but it's very simple. You just go around the fronts of the back and around the backs of the fronts. That probably made it more confusing, and I am sorry, but I will zoom in and show you exactly what I'm doing. So we're going to do back post, front post for the entire round of the beanie. You can do this for however many rounds you see fit and however long you want your brim to be for this beanie. And it's gonna make this very nice looking brim. So it doesn't just look like plain double crochets. I didn't want that. I wanted a kind of rigid look to give it some type of texture, so it just doesn't look so plain. But once you're done with a few stitches, you will start to see how this pattern lays out, and it comes together very nicely. I love it for cuffs and brims and the edging of a lot of work. It's one of the most simple things you can do that gives it this nice textured look. So you can go around and do that for as many rounds as you see fit, and I'll meet you back. Alright, we are coming up to the last front post of this brim, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that single crochet. I'm going to chain 1, and there I have it. That is all I did. I did 1 round. You may want to do 2 or 3, however many you feel like you may need to increase the length of your beanie. So as you see now, mine is reaching 6 inches. That is just enough for my head. I don't really want a big fold over, but if you want, you can do as many rounds as you can and have a nice little flip up. So pretty much that's the end of this tutorial. It's very simple, one piece, that's that. And for a little extra, got some yarn. I folded it like this in half. There was no specific length. I just used whatever I had left, and I folded it in half again. And I cut. I took those ends and I folded that in half. And then I cut. And I did that one more time. I took those ends, folded it all in half, and then I cut. And just like that, that was enough for me. So I did that with all these colors. That's all I had left of my gray and of my white. So then I took a long piece of yarn, not extremely long, but long enough. I did a little mix up of my yarns because I didn't want it to be just blank colors. I wanted them to be a little bit meshed. So I literally just folded, and folded until they got all mixy. Then I laid it here. So it's roughly in the center of this strand of yarn. And then I tied it. I wanted to make sure I had at least an even amount roughly on both sides of my yarn. It looked good, so I tied it tight. Pull tight. Then I did that one more time, making sure I did a double loop this time. And once I got it down, I pulled tight. Okay, and for me that was good enough. You may want to do this several different times if you like. So I took a yarn needle, I threaded that, and then I brought in something special. This bead. Silicone, soft, really nice. Very simple. And I threaded that through. No, that did not hurt. Kind of concerned why it didn't, but hey, I just pulled that through. Just like that. And then I took the end of my beanie. And in that chain space that we left open, I simply went around. And I did this just in case I would want to change this off one day. Didn't want anything pretty permanent. I know I can wash this bead, but just in case I wanted to take it off during the wash, I could. So I just pulled my yarn through like this, okay? Then I took the bead and I went back through the opening of the bead where the yarn is coming out. And I pulled through, wiggling on through just like this. And from here, I did not pull it tight yet, but I did shimmy down the bead some so I can get a little bit more yarn length. Okay, and once I did that, I was looking for where I made my knot. So trying to get those yarn lengths as even as I can. That's what I did. So I went through the yarn knot right here. Right through there. It was a little tight, but I got it through. And I pulled through. You can use some pliers, you can use whatever you may need, but just get that yarn through there. And then I just pulled tight. I shimmied the yarn through, pulled really, really tight, and got the bead on there as much as I could without having to go in and keep tying and doing mini knots, because I wanted to maybe take these off if I needed to wash. I just wanted it to be an easy removal. And so yeah, so basically that's it. This is how it came out. I know a lot of people do the jester, whatever it's called, type of hat looking thing, but I think it looks fine with it just being a beanie as well. You can do some nice simple colors. It doesn't always have to be a funny looking thing. You can make this creative and cute. And that's it. So this is how it looks. As you see, it can come out really nice and really cute. yeah, so that's it. At the end of the day, you make it what you want it, and that's that. So I would like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you can, please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time.